Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to introduce you to the brand new top 30 meta snapshot list. And I've made this one up for you guys with brand new rankings. We got the PVE on the left, we got the PvP on the right, and of course we've got my favorite thing ever, the icons at the top explaining the different game modes that the characters are proficient in. And I want to explain why I changed from my traditional list, which was just on the screen that I created in the video editing software that I use in Premiere Pro, why I changed from that to a Google spreadsheet that you're seeing right here. Well, first of all, I wanted to create a spreadsheet because it's going to match the style of all of the other guides that I've done for you guys and that we've discussed in different videos, whether it's the CTP guide, the ISO 8, the native tier 2, the tier 3 ranking, or of course the most other favorite one, which is just the tier list of all the characters in the game. Additionally, I really love the icons. I think it's really fucking fun, so I wanted to put them in here, and it's just by accident I realized that all of the PVE ones are gray and black and white, and all of the PvP ones are fun, colorful stuff. That's just kind of an accident, to be honest with you, but it worked out in the end. Thirdly, I kind of think the old list was kind of a piece of shit. It looked ugly. It was just all black and white, and it was just a big blob of text scrolling from top to bottom, and it was kind of annoying to keep track of because I had to go into the old file, copy all of the text, and then paste it into a new file every month when I wanted to update the meta snapshot. So this will be a lot easier for me to maintain over time. Now let's dive into what exactly I've done here for you guys and what kind of discussion I want to have with you moving forward as per the meta snapshot. I have made a few small tweaks. Now, the meta snapshot is meant to represent how I perceive my opinion of the meta in the game. That is, what the majority of players are using at a high level to complete content quickly, efficiently, effectively, and just in the best possible way, the most dominant at the highest stages. So when I say World Boss Ultimate, or when I say ABX, or when I say GBR, for those three PvE game modes, that's not just characters that can complete those stages. It's characters that are completing them at a very high level, either individual high levels, so you know Deadpool does up to stage 60 or 70 of Corvus, or multiple levels, whereas someone like Gambit can complete all 5 World Boss Ultimates at a high level, at 40 and up. So that is really important to understand. Additionally, ABX, of course, refers to characters that are either first, second, or third for their respective scores. I'm not talking about every character that can complete ABX with any kind of score. We're talking as close to 2 million as possible. So, for example, Black Panther does not get an ABX tag because he's honestly not very good, whereas Mr. Fantastic is much better for ABX, even though he's only really being used for 1 day, which would be Combat Hero if you're not using Captain America. So that is an example that I want to illustrate to you guys. Additionally, the pizza for Shadowland is kind of there as a joke. Shadowland is way too easy nowadays, and it's completely irrelevant for a meta snapshot, but I just wanted to put a couple of pizzas in here for specific characters that aren't getting a lot of love, but I do feel that they're used a lot, so they should be on the meta at some stage. And additionally, they may have some upper value for Shadowland in specific ways. So Morgan Le Fay, for example, she's a very easy to get universal female villain, so she covers a lot of bases for Shadowland. Doctor Strange has the debuff, so he can clear any Shadowland stage. Winter Soldier with the iframe ignore can pretty much snipe and one-shot any stage in just a few seconds. So those characters that I listed there are just, they have some specific values that make them worthwhile for Shadowland. You know, Jean Grey revives in Shadowland, for example. But otherwise, Shadowland is not being featured here because it's just way too easy. Hopefully, in a future snapshot, we'll have 50 or 60 stages of Shadowland, and those last 10 will be so incredibly difficult that we will need to differentiate characters who can compete in Shadowland at those high stages. So this is kind of a placeholder for my opinion, or my hope, that in the future I'll be able to provide an opinion for Shadowland that will actually matter for high-level meta PvE play. As far as the PvP side goes, we've only got really 3 good PvP game modes. I'm not including Battle World. Get out of here with that shit. We got Timeline Battle, TBL, we got Alliance Conquest, and we've got Alliance Tournament. So those are the lists. Now, I don't have too much experience overall with Alliance Conquest or Alliance Tournament. Myself, I don't have first-hand experience, but I do have a lot of second-hand experience. I talk to a lot of people who play in the tournament, and I watch a lot of replays in my own time and sometimes on the streams, and I also talk to and watch my Alliance play Alliance Conquest, even though I'm not personally participating. So you can kind of get on my back about my opinions on PvP a little bit more than PvE, but I assure you that I'm trying to do my research as much as I can for those two game modes in order to bring you an accurate PvP list. But in general, I would say that I'm a little bit more confident in my PvE list personally because I handle most of these characters on a day-to-day basis. So let's talk about this new list because we've got a ton of changes. I basically ripped the face off of the old list and put my face on top. So it's looking pretty nice. We got Luna Snow at the top of the PvE list, and I was thinking about who I should put here originally, or from the last list of a few months ago, I had Scarlet Witch, but thinking about it, Scarlet Witch really doesn't dominate some of these game modes as much, and ABX is probably the big takeaway here. Luna Snow is now available for not 1 but 2 days. She's available for the Speed Hero, which was normally dominated by either Quicksilver or Winter Soldier, and now she's the #1 de facto, no doubt, queen of the Speed Female Hero Day, which is basically made for her. And because it's so mind-numbingly easy to hit 2 million with Tier 3 Luna Snow, it's incredibly easy. She has to take the #1 spot. She's available for 2 days, which is the most of any character, and she caps out on both days, whereas even someone like Captain America, see what I did there, doesn't cap out easily on his second day, although he is available with a uniform to provide the combat female hero. It's very hard to get 2 million with that uniform because it's absolute trash. So that's kind of why Luna Snow takes the cake here. She's also able to compete in 4 out of 5 World Boss Ultimates very handily. She has no penalty against Corvus. She has increased damage against Ebony Maw. So she really positions herself well to dominate. And she's also a very nice, consistent clear in GBR. Not as fast as Sharon Rogers, but still very good. Has the heal. She can heal her teammates if they're very close to her. She has a lot of utility. Sharon Rogers, you probably thought she was #1 because of how crazy her DPS is, her burst damage. But although I did put the ABX tag here, she's really only used for 1 day, which is the no restriction day. And let's be honest, everyone has Cable, and he's a brain dead 2 million. So she's really not pushing ABX at all. So technically she's only really there for World Boss and GBR, technically. But if you never build up Cable, you could build up Sharon Rogers for that role, and she could easily fill your 2 million in under a minute and a half. Scarlet Witch does drop, but she's still very relevant. One thing I want to make a little bit different about this meta snapshot, and I tried to hint it at the beginning, that it's the characters that are being used. I want to add some of the characters that are being used in a support role for the meta snapshot. So I do put at the end of the list here both Shuri and Anti-Venom. Now, them being at 24 and 25 is not really a huge kind of point of pride for me. They could be 29 and 30 if you wanted, but I do think that Shuri and Anti-Venom are used more than the characters below them. So I just want to make that, I want to point that out to you. They might actually be used more than Apocalypse as well, but he is used for ABX, and he is the best combat hero villain. God help us all. So there is that to consider. But I did kind of ask myself that question. How many people do you see use Shuri in World Boss Ultimate? Pretty much everybody. How many people do you see use Jean Grey in World Boss Ultimate? At a high level, very few. For those of you that don't know, Shuri with her uniform has the highest decreased damage against supervillains in terms of incoming damage compared to any other support character. So whereas every other character provides 15% reduced incoming damage, Shuri with the uniform boosts that reduction to 35%. So I like to personally use Shuri with Deadpool because he gets hit a lot and he heals, so that he can survive those insane bleeds from Corvus at stage 59 and up. Moving along down the list, this is all pretty much the same. I respected Cable because he was way too low on the last list, or a couple lists ago. Quicksilver, Captain America, Thor, pretty straightforward. I honestly want to put Thor a little bit lower because I feel as though he's not able to push high World Boss Ultimate because he has mixed physical energy with the lightning damage. Even against Ebony, he's not as good as some of the other characters on this list. He's definitely nowhere near as good as Emma Frost, not even as good as, you know, Psylocke, Human Torch for Ebony, so I really don't know where he's supposed to go. He's not that great against Ebony. He's obviously not amazing against Corvus. I mean, he's got that 50% penalty. Not amazing against Cull Obsidian. Not amazing against Proxima. Yeah, man, Thor, in my eyes, Thor is losing a lot of value as more and more tier 3s come out, but he's still pretty good for GBR. It's slow, but it's good, and of course, he's still the best universal hero for ABX. However, don't sleep on my boy Ghost Panther, because he is a very close second for ABX, and he can get $1.5 million, which is very close to $2 million for the same day as Thor, and you don't need to tier 3 him, so that is definitely something to think about. Gambit is here, as I've mentioned before, only because he can clear 5 world bosses. He has basically no value in ABX. He can play GBR, but I'm not giving him the robot tag because it's frustrating. It's a frustrating clear. You have to play very carefully, very, cautiously, and it's not kind of an auto win kind of situation. Mr. Fantastic I'm putting here at number 11. I'm not sure what his final value will be because we have so little information still, but I think this is a fair place to put him for now. We know he hits 2 million in ABX. We know he can push some Proxima World Boss Ultimate. We know, he's got some nice GBR stuff, but we're really going to have to see the limit of this character before we can put him ahead of some of these, de facto kings of their specific days, because most of these people here at the top are number 1 for their ABX day. They can smack around World Boss, and they can pump GBR quite effectively. Moving along down the list, it's pretty straightforward. You're gonna find that there are fewer and fewer level 60 characters on this list, period, because they're just falling behind. It seems as though World Boss Ultimate above stage 35, above stage 40, and in general, Giant Boss Raid is just not made for level 60 characters at all. They just don't do enough damage. Their attacks get dodged, or there's just a huge damage penalty, some sort of defense buff to the enemy, and so it's just really hard to complete any of that content with characters like Anti-Man, Apocalypse, Jean Grey, and that's why they're so low on this list for PVE. Moving along to PvP, I think you guys are going to have a bit more to say, and you're going to have a bit more of a salty reaction to me. But hear me out. The top 5 here I've confirmed with multiple people in Alliance Tournament as the top 5 Alliance Tournament characters. So while all these characters are good and you see them on almost, pretty much 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 timeline teams are going to have at least one of these characters on them every single week. They're not always banned at the same time, although right now Thanos, Deadpool, and Strife are banned. And I think maybe Quicksilver is, but Wasp isn't. So you're going to see at least one of these 5 characters on every single timeline team. They're also very good for Alliance Conquest, maybe not number 1, but they are very good, and they counter a lot of the characters that come after them, especially Wasp. And they're also the top 5 for Alliance Tournament. Not in this specific order for Alliance Tournament, but in pretty much a close order to this, with Wasp being at the end. So because of that, because of how competitive Alliance Tournament becomes with players, amassing 30, 40, 50% HP on their cards, it really gives you a very specific situation in which you can study these characters at a high level over hundreds and thousands of matches. Because, okay, you play Alliance Conquest or you play Timeline Battle, you only get about 70 matches. But because so many of the Alliance Tournament teams, now think about this, there's 16 teams, they play 40 times, because each alliance has 40 members, so there's a total of 80 battles simulated every time they play, and then it goes into a group of 8, and then it goes into a group of 4, and then, okay, so it's a crazy number. I don't know what the number is. I haven't actually done the math. It's a crazy number of matches, and each week you're getting some simulation of these 5 characters. There's a couple of others that dive in here from time to time that kind of sneak in, but mostly the simulation is with these 5 characters. And so seeing that and seeing how they play really gives you an appreciation for how much they can dominate and how quickly they can wipe the board with one another in a 3 versus 3 scenario. Now, it's hard to compare a 3 versus 3 scenario versus a 1 versus 1 scenario for something like Timeline Battle. I tried to articulate that a little bit with characters like Colossus, whereas I didn't give him anything for Timeline Battle because I think one-on-one Colossus is really bad. If a character is iframing, he basically can't reflect at all, and you can always just switch out to another character and abuse the fact that Colossus is basically only used as a physical reflect pile-on. However, in something like Alliance Conquest or Alliance Tournament, you cannot switch out because it's a 3-on-3, and because it's a 3-on-3, you're either forced to bring in 3 energy attackers against Colossus because you have to respect the reflect, or you bring in a physical attacker hoping he doesn't attack Colossus or he isn't close enough, which either mitigates the AoE or will get that character killed when Colossus reflects the damage. So I have to try to take that into consideration as well. Honestly, I don't see much Jean Grey anymore. Yeah, I still see her when she isn't banned, but she's honestly no threat at all. I honestly am more scared of Nova because of the one-shot guard break potential with his second skill. I don't know how he guard breaks when I have guard break immunity, but it still happens. It's bizarre. And then the rest of the list kind of falls down the way you would expect it to fall down, or kind of follow through. Spider-Man, I know a lot of you guys love him, but he's really not that amazing anymore with more tier 3s coming out, with more characters having ignore dodge on their tier 3 skill or just as part of their kit. And if you just bring a debuff, if you just bring a Wasp, you bring Angel's leadership, it really nullifies Spider-Man's effectiveness. And because there's so many more tier 3s now, he really doesn't have that HP buffer that he had when he first came out as a tier 3, and he basically only had to work against Iron Man and Captain America, which basically meant he only had to work against Captain America because no one was bringing Iron Man into PvP, and no one is. Yeah, moving down along the list, a notable inclusion here is Dr. Doom at 10. I think he may be able to rise a little bit, but he might also end up falling. But I didn't put him in here for Alliance Tournament because from what I've seen, he isn't very good. However, on the other hand, holy shit, he's a monster for Timeline Battle, and I assume that's going to mean he's also a monster for AC. Any character that revives is always good for Alliance Conquest because it gives you a second chance, and if the team happens to fail against you, it gives you 4 more it'll give you 4 more chances in total, so that's always valuable. We go down here, we got Angel, Psylocke. I did put Luna Snow here at 15, just above Emma Frost. Both of these characters have surprised me. I've tried to take them down one-on-one with both Thanos and Dr. Doom, and they're tanky. They are tanky. Luna's got the iframes and the heal. Emma's got the damage reduction and the iframes, and it's annoying as hell. I haven't actually died to either one of them, but I've come close, so I have to respect that because my Thanos is not easy to take down. Corvus, we know the heal, or not the heal, the revive and the clones and the iframes, the fact that he can spam his third skill infinitely. We talked about Colossus already. The rest of the list kind of shakes out. We got 2 new ones here. These are kind of just guesses on my part for Victorious and Invisible Woman. I don't know how good they are. I haven't seen any sort of substantial PvP gameplay from them to justify their role here, but I don't think they're going to be much worse in PvP with the PvP build compared to the ones below them. They may be a little bit worse. We may shuffle these characters around a little bit, but I think after 15, the PvP scene is a lot less important. I think the top 15 in PvP are definitely used by the 90+% of the players, and then the last 15% kind of boils down to personal preference, who you want to play. But there's just not a lot of variation in Timeline Battle. For the best AC teams, there's not a lot of variation as well. There's very little variation for Alliance Tournament because of the way that the game is built. And so we have kind of a list that kind of devolves in a different way past 15. So let me know what you guys think of this list. You can, of course, find it in the master kind of guide that I've put together. It's there down below in one of the sheets, so if you just go down here at the bottom, I'll show you guys right now, it will end up being between the tier list and the meta snapshot. It'll actually be right here once I fill this in with the list that I just showed you. So let me know what you guys think of that. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me. Hit me up on Twitch for more content, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.